Over the past century, around 70% of England and Wales's ancient woodland has been lost or damaged, largely through conifer plantations, agriculture and invasive species. This threatens irreplaceable habitats. Hi, I'm Curly Steve and I'm searching for a greener room. Rai Lewis is the co-founder of Plant One Cornwall, a community project restoring native woodlands across the county by connecting landowners, businesses and local people to plant the right trees in the right places. Rai, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So let's rewind. Tell me how life was like as a child and where were you?
Oh, where was I? So I grew up in Essex, the south of Essex, which is particularly built up now. And actually, it started out as quite like a rural life, but in a little village or a town. But then we moved and I was in a city. So I actually have quite an urban upbringing, absolutely no knowledge of the countryside. So everything I've kind of done as I've kind of gone into sustainability and environmentalism, I've learned along the way. Now my life is very different to what it was like when I was a kid.
So where did you find sort of sanctuary when you were...
in the city?
Yeah.
Just sitting in my window, really, looking out. Because we had quite a lot of oak trees around the house. So just sitting in the window and looking out the window was kind of imagined being in more... not tropical, just more rural environments, just being in the environment more because I was, kind of in a very built-up area. I didn't really get to experience, going out. And the bits that I did were actually very small, thinking about it now. Like they were so, they were very contained woodlands on a golf course, something like that, So, there were times where we'd kind of go and break into the local golf course and go running around on the green and things. Just to get to the woodlands, really, just to play in the woodlands. So, there wasn't necessarily a lot of greenery to be had, mainly because the greenery that was available was really dangerous.
Right,
it was a high crime rate, so it wasn't particularly, safe necessarily to be out. When I did go out, my parents would always be worrying about where I was because we didn't necessarily have mobile phones back then. So, it was all a bit of a...
So when do you remember when your sort of breakthrough into nature sort of started?
No, I tell you, so I've always been interested in nature, especially animals. So I guess it's a what you would term as a special interest. I was very obsessed with animals as a kid, and my mum actually got me a file of facts, and we used to get like these portfolios come through of like different animals, where they were in the world, what kind of population status and all that kind of thing. And for me, like really young, I think almost like freakishly young maybe, I was like 5 or 6, I think. And I loved just sitting and looking through all these kind of facts leafs about all these different creatures, looking at like the different pictures. I think that is like my earliest memory really of being interested in nature, and it's just never really stopped from there. It's just spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So sort of imagination and books has been your sort of catalyst for...
which is funny because I don't really read a lot of books nowadays. So it's funny to think that back then, that file of facts was a real kind of turning point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, I'd love to see that file of facts again. Actually,
is it somewhere? Do you think? Or
oh no, I think we got rid of it. It was quite a big one. It was like a really big, multi binder. Massive binder. I don't know where my mum used to get these leaves from, but they just appeared in the post. So she must have signed up to something. And then it's getting all these
amazing
leaves.
So where did your journey start in Cornwall then?
I actually moved here for a job with the University of Exeter. About 13 years ago, I think, 12, 13 years ago.
And so before we go there then, what in your childhood, what age did you move here and what did you do in between there and there?
Okay, so I left Essex when I was 18
Right.
to study illustration in Herefordshire.
Right.
And that was purely because when I typed in illustration university, Herefordshire was the first one to come up. So I was just like, that'll do. Mm-hmm. So I ended up in Hereford. I dropped out after 3 months because I realised I just didn't want to draw like all the time. Mm-hmm. And I decided I wanted to go back to do A-levels and do science. So I did biology, geology, archaeology and environmental sciences. And then from there, I went to, I got all my A-levels. And then I went to Plymouth University to do marine biology and coastal ecology. And then in my second year of university, I got a job at the Marine Biological Association in Plymouth.
Okay.
No, sorry, not the Marine Biological Association. The Plymouth Marine Laboratory.
Okay, and what was that doing?
So that was assisting with research, specifically microalgae, which is very a proper specialism. But
that is,
yeah,
isn't it?
I really, the thing is it's really nerdy, but microalgae, when you look down a microscope at them, they're all really pretty patterns, and I really like that. So
well, that would
really
follow on from your sort of illustration, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it would. Yeah, design and art are still quite, like, I'm still quite passionate about. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it would follow on from that. Yeah, it definitely, I think, has a bit of a link. Mm-hmm. Just like looking at pretty things.
Excellent. And that's quite a sort of natural scientific group of studies there that you're doing.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was very specific, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only one that kind of steps out of that is archaeology. Okay. So archaeology is, people think it's digging up dinosaurs and things, and it's actually specifically human history. Oh, okay. So archaeology was the study of human history, not necessarily not natural history at all. Okay. Actually, digging up dinosaurs comes under geology, which I also did. So
yeah. So what was the sort of highlight for you out of those subjects?
Geology.
Okay.
I loved geology, but really the only two things you could do with geology as a career was digging up dinosaurs, which felt very much out of reach. I was just kind of like, I don't think I'm going to get a job doing that. And working for oil industry or mineral extraction. So you would be the person that went to a beautiful place and went, yeah, there's loads of oil or minerals here. Let's dig them up. Yeah,
let's ruin the place.
Let's ruin it. So I was like, I can't do that job. There's no way. Apparently there's a lot of money in it, but that's not something that I couldn't bring myself to do that.
No, I can understand that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So which direction did you go in? I
went down the marine biology route.
Yeah.
So and that was because I really wanted to do diving. I really wanted to be a marine diver. Mm-hmm. And I did actually get my HSE qualification in diving. Mm-hmm. You can go down the PADI route, which is actually for, it's more, what's the word? Recreational.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So PADI is for recreational diving. You have to get an HSE certificate to kind of engage in commercial diving.
What does HSC stand for?
It's the Health and Safety Executive.
Okay, right, yeah. Okay.
So the Health and Safety Executive give out these certificates once you've passed certain qualifications.
So that's for more sort of commercial divers, right?
Yeah. So that's like welding, underwater surveys, photography, like marine photography. And again, I did it and I got my certification. I did a couple of surveys, but the last survey I did, I had like an accident and I nearly died.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I didn't, go back to it. I basically have never got back on that horse.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That's diving's one of those things that if it goes wrong, it generally goes
wrong.
Yeah.
So I was quite green still. I hadn't really been doing it that long. It was maybe 2 years I'd been doing kind of dive work. I was still trying to get into doing more, it was a bit ad hoc. So I'd maybe done 4 or 5 surveys, doing different things like scallop surveys or, helping out on other dives and things like that. And then this one was like a proper survey. It was a seagrass survey on the Isle of Lundy, which is in the Bristol Channel. And it was amazing, but it was... It was just really difficult. It was really challenging conditions for me. I don't know if it was for everybody else who was much more experienced at diving than I was, but we got dropped in on a pinnacle. It was the deepest dive that we'd done. So it was about 30 metres, I think. We got dropped in on a pinnacle and the current was really strong.
Right.
I didn't realise this at the time, but everybody else went down the side of the pinnacle to get away from the current to do the survey. Whereas I stayed on top because that's where we had been dropped. So I assumed that's where we had to stay.
Right.
So I was fighting the current all the time.
Okay.
And I got worn out. And you're not really, when you're diving, you're not really meant to put in a lot of physical exertion because then you start breathing too hard. We had full face masks on. Because you've got radio contact, so you can talk to other people. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the radio wasn't working. So I was kind of like, bloody hell, this is really difficult, you know, kicking basically to stay in one place. And then I started to get really dizzy and kind of getting close to blackout. And I was like, this is not good at all. And I just happened to see someone kind of going by, looking perfectly fine. And I remember them kind of signalling to, or trying to talk to me and me not responding because my radio didn't work. And then them kind of going, I can't remember what the signal is now. Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you okay? And I was like, no, no, I'm not. Like, I did this to indicate, like, that's not an official signal, but it was to just indicate, no, something is wrong. Yeah. So he came over, he signalled to topside that something wasn't right. So we kind of got taken to the surface. Or he took me to the surface. It turned out that I had a massive CO2 build-up in my mask because I had been exerting so much. And unfortunately, we didn't get told, or I didn't get told, or didn't know that you can actually purge those masks.
Oh, right.
So I could have just purged, but instead I just had this big CO2 build-up, which obviously isn't great when you're trying to breathe.
So would that be the bends then, or something like that? Or?
No, it's not the bends. It's just the bends is nitrogen buildup in your body.
Right.
So it wasn't the bends. I didn't get anything like that. It was just I could have suffocated if it continued. And obviously passing out underwater, even with a mask on, all kinds of things can go wrong at that point. Yeah. So I was very lucky that didn't happen. I was lucky that Chris, the other diver, just so happened to be going by at that point. And that was the last dive of that survey. So that was it. I didn't get to go again to kind of try and get over that fear. And then I never got on another survey. And I just kind of went, I don't know if I want to go back on another survey.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, absolutely.
So I do, sometimes I still regret it. Sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I should do it recreationally because I really enjoy it. I love going down into kind of like that area. Yeah. And it's such an amazing feeling when you dive. I don't know if you've ever dived.
I have actually. Yeah. It's quite surreal, isn't it?
It is. I kind of weirdly, I used to think at the time it's like flying over a forest.
Yeah.
If you're in,
okay.
So because underwater kelp beds and seagrass beds, they are like forests, you know, and they're moving, and you're just kind of hovering over the top.
Just different kind of animals in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Animals that can move in every direction.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That was. I don't know how I ended up talking about that, but that was how
So we were moving through your sort of time coming up to.
Of course. Yeah.
Plant One. So what was next after that then?
So after the dive surveys. At the same time as doing the dive surveys, my other job was working in research at Plymouth Marine Laboratory, which is in Plymouth. And they had done, I worked there for I think 3 years, maybe 2 years. And then they did a collaboration with Exeter University, but Penryn campus, not the Exeter campus. So that required me to go to Penryn campus, I think, once a week. So then, of course, you kind of get to know people down in Penryn. Research jobs are never permanent. They're always temporary on either a 6 month, a year, 2 year, 5 year contracts. So I was always being put on from one contract to the next, working on different but similar research projects. So then I was always kind of looking for the next job, you know, at the same time, because you always have to keep that kind of open. So I ended up working at Exeter University.
So what were those? What was the sort of You said they were similar but not the same. What was the sort of over?
So I went from working with marine microalgae to freshwater microalgae to what's called acidophilic microalgae. And acidophilic is just, they love acid. They love acidic environments, which is actually in Cornwall there's a lot of, because we've got a lot of mine waste, which causes watercourses to go acidic. So there was that. And then I ended up working in bacteria.
Okay, these are all fascinating subjects.
Yeah, so it goes from, so basically it goes from microalgae to bacteria. And then I ended up kind of specialising specifically in growing all these organisms in what's called a bioreactor.
Okay.
So I just became really good at looking after bioreactors of various kinds, from a few hundred litres down to like a 10 litre, 5 litre pot. So that was what I did pretty much. That was the thing that joined it all together, in every project.
So what? So what next?
What next? Okay, so then I ended up working on methanogens, which is methane-producing bacteria. It was very. It wasn't at all what I wanted to do. Research felt like the wrong place because I was stuck. I didn't want to do a PhD. And there's nowhere to really go in a university if you're not going to be a lecturer. Right. So I all this time I had been a research assistant, and I'd reached a ceiling. There was nowhere more for me to go. I'd been moving from place to place within it, but not upwards.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of a bit stuck. And then I thought, well, I need to do something different. And I didn't really know what that was. But I ended up kind of thinking about the fact that the reservoir outside of Falmouth, Algal Reservoir and College Reservoir, they provide the water, fresh water for Falmouth.
Yeah.
They are very toxic because they are full of microalgae, which any creature that's not aquatic, humans, dogs, any wildlife that's not aquatic, would find poisonous. They get really sick from drinking it.
Okay.
And South West Water have to spend a lot of money, I don't know how much, cleaning that. And that is caused by too much nutrients from the runoff of the farms on the area.
Yeah.
Not necessarily farms, it can actually also be houses as well. And so I was like, this is insane. This is so crazy that for some of the year, you can go there and have a look and you can see all this algae. It's a really thick mat, the same colour as some of these plants, It's not good, and it smells pretty bad, so it's quite obvious.
And this is just like stagnant water, is it?
It's not stagnant, it looks like stagnant water, but it's the algae. When it dies, it rots. So that takes up oxygen, that kills fish. That's why Algal Reservoir is full of bubbles.
Okay.
So they have to pay to pump water into the reservoir, to pump air, into the reservoir.
To keep it moving.
To keep it moving so that the fish can live in there,
Is that totally a sealed off area then, is it? There's no feed from it?
There is a feed, but it's when we have events like droughts, obviously the water gets, there's no water feeding in, it gets smaller and it gets worse, the issue gets worse. So there's all kinds of, problems going on there. So I was like, we need to change the land use around the reservoir. Because if we can change the way the land is used, that means that the reservoir will be in a better condition. South West Water won't have to spend God knows how much money making it clean and drinkable. So I ended up going to a Forest for Cornwall event. Forest for Cornwall are a council funded organisation, Cornwall Council funded organisation, which helps landowners across the county get trees, whether that is it's usually mapping, so they'll do a design and things like that and tell you what trees to plant. So I went to one of their events to learn more, to see how I could somehow help. And that was where I met Carl, who is now my business partner. And he had already come up with Plant One with a group of friends. And I met them and they were all wearing matching T-shirts. And I remember being like, these guys are great. They know what they're doing. That's so cool that they've got a team, rather than me just kind of being on my own trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So we kind of had a little chat, and that was the end of it really. And And then I think like a few months later, during that time, because I think I'd been interviewed by them for their Instagram or something. So I was like, oh, you know, Carl and I swapped numbers because I was interested in him maybe being a trustee in something I was trying to do. So then like, yeah, I think a few months later, he was like, look, he rang me up at like 8 o'clock at night and was like, hey, look, my friends have had a baby together.
Right. Yeah.
They're not like, they don't really have time to be involved in this anymore. It's just me again.
Okay.
Do you want to like come on board and like help me out with this? And I was like, oh yeah, all right then, why not, you know?
Excellent.
So yeah, that's how we ended up like getting on with that basically.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is Plant One Cornwall?
Okay, so Plant One, we're changing the name
Okay.
to just Plant One. So Plant One is a woodland creation company. Our thing was always like, there's so many like issues in the world in terms of CO2, biodiversity crisis, people not being able to access nature, that we really like, what can we do? Like just me and Carl, you know, and it was like, we can plant bloody trees, right? Like, you know, he's an arborist. That's what he's been, you know, doing for years, like over 10 years, I think. So I was like, you know, that's easy. We can do that. And to us at the time, we were just like, let's just get them in. Let's just get them in the ground. Let's just get it done, you know. Obviously now it's a little bit more, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah,
but the whole idea was we just want to have an impact. We just want to be able to do something positive. So now we're going for charity status. We were a CIC. We work with landowners, we work with the community, and we work with businesses all over the county and actually beyond now to remove barriers for landowners for woodland creation. For a landowner, that could be like a whole myriad of things. It could be, I don't even know what trees to plant. Oh, we can help you answer that. You know, oh, I don't know where to plant my trees. We can help you answer that. I don't know, like, if I should plant trees, you know. Loads of landowners kind of get in touch and are like, oh, can you come and have a look? I've got this crappy scrap of land and I'm thinking to just put trees on it. And then I go there and I go, oh, no, this is a great grassland and you don't even realise, you know, you've got like species here that are actually quite rare. So, there's kind of all those services. And then, of course, we do the actual planting. We then like take care of the trees once we've put them in. And then we also... that's
and
it.
you have certain rules and certain ways of people getting further up the list and
of course, yeah.
Tell me
So
about that.
if a landowner gets in touch and they're kind of like, oh, you know, I'd like to get some trees, the first question is always, okay, great, is there public access?
Yeah,
you know.
of course.
And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. If they say yes, that's immediate win because we're like, oh, fantastic. Because the thing that we really want to do is make sure that people, especially in Cornwall, have access to trees. Cornwall has the least access, Cornwall has the least amount of tree cover on average compared to all of Europe. It's really bad. We've got a great ocean like access and everything with the South West Coast Path, but such bad access to wooded areas. I mean, I think if you were to ask most Cornish people about woodland areas, they'd kind of be like Tahidi, Idlis.
That's about it.
What other areas in our area?
Small bits, isn't there?
Yeah, there's loads of small sections, and so much of it is in private ownership as well that you just can't get to it. You know, you're not really allowed in there. So that's kind of a tough. You know, it's kind of tough.
How do you get the community involved?
So they are invited to come along to planting days and also we're trying to find a better name for this, but maintenance days.
Okay.
So I like to call them summer days because planting always takes place in the winter. Everybody loves planting because it's the sexy bit, but it's always done in the wind and the rain and the snow, you know, the cold. The summer days are just come along to a sunny day, you know, and do some weeding. It's not as sexy, but it's a damn sight easier and just as important So yeah, they're the two like volunteer days that we do to get the community involved. And a landowner obviously has to accept that as well.
Yeah,
they have to be allowed to have people.
So would you do a woodland if people weren't given access, if it was
So if
viable?
there's no access, if it's a really good because our main aim is to create woodlands for biodiversity purposes.
Yeah.
That is our top priority.
Okay.
So it's biodiversity, public access,
Yeah, okay.
CO2 sequestration is a side benefit, if you like. But that's our main thing. If a project is really good and it's going to really make a positive impact on biodiversity, we will go ahead with it if there's no public access, as long as the landowner also lets us bring on volunteers, like to, at least access it for a day or two a year, and then they get to see an area that usually you wouldn't get to see. So that's how we deal with that. But public access is obviously, like I say, one of our top priorities.
And you'll push people up the list if they're ticking more boxes at the top.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. And so you've said before that there's a problem with accessing and finding land. There's land all over the place. So what's the actual challenge there then?
Oh, well, obviously the landowners have to be, on board, and many landowners aren't. So primarily we work with, I would say, campsites and large estates. One facet of the public that own a lot of land that don't really like trees, unfortunately, are farmers.
Okay.
So we're just in conversations with our first farmer, a beef dairy farmer, who I'm not going to go more than that because we've not gone further with the conversation.
Okay, yeah.
But they're a beef and dairy farmer who are looking to put more trees into their fields for shelter. Their cows don't have any shelter from the sun. So they're kind of like, look, my cows are struggling in the heat. We would really like to give them some shade. Can we have trees for that purpose? And we're like, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
That's cows are literally a forest animal. They're evolved to be in woodlands.
Yeah.
So eating leaves as part of their diet is really important. It's really good for them. It's really good for their tummies.
So just so apart from cows, or including cows, I guess, does farming and woodland habitat go hand in hand?
It
can coexist.
It can exist together.
Yeah.
So there's I completely understand why. Farming is a really, really tough job. They are trying to do everything
for nothing,
for nothing, and for everybody at the same time. They're trying to keep everybody happy for nothing. So they are less likely to take risks, which I completely get. But we do need more trees in the landscape, and that can be done, especially if you have livestock, because for chickens, which are also jungle fowl, that is literally their name,
right.
For chickens, for pigs, which also love to root around in woodland, and cows, all of those creatures benefit from woodlands. It'll improve their health. It's better, for the woodlands as well to have these kind of creatures roaming around in them for different reasons. So if you have livestock, it's actually a really good idea and not very difficult to do, really. When you first put the trees in, you've got to keep them out because you've got to let the trees grow up to be a bit bigger,
Yeah.
But once they're grown, it's actually quite easy then to put your livestock or your pigs or whatever in there. With crops, it's more difficult, but there are still benefits. You have to give up a little bit of your land to plant the trees in a specific way, so that then you can get your. Let's say you need to spray, or you need to do anything with big machinery. You need to have the space,
of course, to
do that. And obviously, so you can't plant trees willy nilly wherever you want, because you need to plan it a little bit more. But there are benefits, and that mainly comes from stopping exposure. So you can put in trees which will help actually to
shelter.
To shelter, whether that be from actually too much sun or too much wind. So there's kind of benefits on that side. Also, there's this whole thing where you can plant crops alongside trees, which they actually benefit each other in different ways, but that's a whole other science that I personally don't have any knowledge of.
So that would be your sort of arable
Yeah, that would be more
alongside
arable.
woodland as well.
Yes, yeah, arable.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So for the only example of that I can think of, which is an example of the concept, but not necessarily trees, is Three Sisters concept, which is, I think it's beans, tomatoes and sweet corn. Okay. You can grow all of those right next to each other and they all benefit each other in different ways.
Oh, okay.
There are things that you can do with trees like that, but I personally don't know of any, and that's just because we've not worked on any arable projects yet. So
I'm super interested in the concept of different species, different trees for different places.
Oh yeah,
and planting the right trees in the right places.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a topic that I could go on about forever.
This is one of your. I read that this is one of your sort of sweet spots.
Yeah.
So go on, I'll give you a moment to.
So it's a really difficult but also really interesting topics in my opinion. So trees. There are certain species of trees that we need in the UK, but unfortunately, because of climate, we're going to need to also somehow try and envisage what might happen in the future and plant trees that are going to survive climate change, which obviously we're all hoping, touch wood, we don't go above like the emissions levels and we don't go above on the temperatures and things. But if we don't go above those levels and things, we're going to plant like 80%, 90% native species and maybe 10% non-natives. Mm-hmm. When I say non-natives, I'm speaking in Europe. I'm not talking about like bringing over something from like New Zealand or whatever.
Okay.
Although we have planted a couple of Japanese species of trees.
Right.
But the worst thing that can go wrong then is we've just planted 10 or 20% of a woodland with a non-native species and everything else is fine.
Yeah.
If things do go a bit sideways and we do have those temperature, the temperature rise that we think and the weather and all the bad things that we know of, then potentially we've planted 80 to 90% trees that might not be able to live here.
Right, yeah.
So we need to somehow...
So again, we lose more of our...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So is it better to plant all native species, which there are people out there that like, no, we need to be, we need to have just natives. You shouldn't plant anything non-native. Even to the point of saying, no, you need to plant native species that you will find in Cornwall and not in Essex.
Yeah. And only in this area.
Yeah, and only in this area.
Yeah.
So there are people that are doing that, and I'm really glad they're doing that. But I'm also really glad that we're doing what we're doing, because really I think you need to have a mixture of approaches because it's such a wide, insane topic.
And this is your genetic diversity.
Oh yeah, my chat. Yeah, so that's the other thing as well, is that as well as planting the right species, you also need to be thinking all the time about how you can help all those tree species adapt and be more resilient as a population, So we need to try and bring in as many kind of genetic variations of those species. And what that means is it just means like, if you think about dogs, they're all different breeds, if you like. We need to kind of bring in all those different lineages that you can get with oak trees, for example, or plant species that are really adaptable. So there are some tree species like cherry. There's something called wild cherry. It's my favourite one. That it grows like all the way over in like the east of Russia, all the way through like Kazakhstan and like, I don't know, like Syria, like through like Greece and everything, and here too.
Okay.
And that is the same species, which is kind of bonkers for a tree because that's a lot of different like habitats that it has to cope with.
A lot of weather patterns.
Yeah, a lot of weather patterns. Yeah. So that means that it's really adaptable as a tree. Like it's actually, capable of coping with quite a lot.
Yeah, of course.
So let's plant more of those as well, because maybe they'll be able to cope with what might happen in the future, which is, we've got some ideas as the human race. We've always got ideas, but,
Where do you even look to for research for this stuff? Because it's sort of, it's not been written, has it?
Yeah. So the simple thing about the cherry tree is if you just go on Wikipedia and look at its distribution around the world, you can see where it is.
Okay.
And so then from that, I've deduced that actually maybe it's really adaptable, and it probably is really adaptable if it can survive in those places. There's lots of theories about, genetic diversity that I've kind of gone, okay, this is probably applicable to these different species, But there's loads of scientific literature. It's just not. I've not necessarily
what I'm
read
saying
it all.
is the scientific literature on the Earth warming.
Oh,
And
sorry, I misunderstood.
Sort of,
Yeah.
It's unprecedented.
It is unprecedented.
So you're sort of moving potentially moving into a realm that hasn't been written yet. So like you say, do you just ignore it and carry on?
Just doing native
as it is, or do you
try and
mitigate it and preempt it?
Yeah. So So the Forestry Commission has done work on like climate change, and they have come up with a few models to show where they think we're going to be. I can't remember the time frame now. I think it's that generic in 50 years time. And they did they showed a model that was in 50 years time. The Cornwall most likely will have a climate that's like northern Spain or southern France.
Okay.
Yeah, but most likely. So there's that, but then there is also a massive area either side of that which could also happen, but there are just less chance. So they're saying you need to be planting species that are from those regions, because those trees are going to be able to cope with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not doing that in their planting plans.
Right.
They've got so it's very strange. There is all this science that says all this stuff, but then it takes people a long time to adopt scientific methods. It's
and it's from my sort of very 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 limited knowledge on it all. It's hard to get people to change, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
It's especially large organisations.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It takes a lot to, it's a bit like thinking about like a really big cruise liner. It takes them a long time to change direction.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the Knapp estates.
Oh, yeah.
Knapp, where they've they call it rewilding, don't they?
Yeah.
And the sort of kickback that they've had when they've tried new projects or looked forward, and the big organisations like DEFRA and people like that have said, no, you can't do
that. Yeah.
And that's been, I can imagine, extremely frustrating for them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What sort of you must be working with some sort of agencies, like the Woodland Trust and people
so
like that.
we work quite a lot with the Woodland Trust now. It's kind of we've actually got a joint campaign that we're launching with them in kind of September time, which is looking at some research that they funded with the University of Exeter. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with me. That just so happened to happen. We've got loads of projects kind of going on with the Woodland Trust. And we've worked a little bit with the Cornwall Wildlife Trust, and hopefully we'll be doing more of that next year as well. Lots of like local NGOs and things that we're kind of working and are in contact with. Also the 1,000 Year Trust, which is on Bodmin as well. Lots of environmental organisations that we're collaborating with.
That must be an interesting table conversation when you all get together.
Oh yeah, I think so. Everybody has slightly different ways of doing things. So some things you agree on, and then some things you don't agree on.
Yeah, which is fine, isn't it? And what I'm finding more and more is that a lot of people are trying to get to the same place, but doing things in different ways.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's okay, and that's okay.
That is absolutely okay. Because like I say, like it was what I was saying earlier about there are people out there that like we have to plant natives, and then there are people out there like the head gardener of Kew is like we shouldn't be planting any native trees.
Right.
And really the fact that we're doing it all means that we'll probably be okay.
Yeah,
because something will work.
Yeah, and some things won't.
And some things won't.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Nature has a way of sorting itself out, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And I mean, if you look, so at the moment we're suffering from ash dieback.
Right.
Which so ash is a tree. It just so happens to be one of my favourites. It is being killed by a fungus which has been brought over from China. Mm-hmm. So we're losing, I can't tell you the facts and figures, but we're losing a hell of a lot of ash trees. In fact, everybody was kind of worried that we would lose them all. But actually, I think it might have been Kew. I think Kew Gardens did some research, and they've actually found that the ash tree is much more resilient than we thought it was going to be, which is great. So it's nice to have some good news. So yeah, nature is definitely a bit more resilient than we sometimes give it credit for.
Talking about credit, that's a nice segue through to carbon credits and offsetting. I sort of sometimes struggle with the concept of net zero.
Yeah.
You know, we can do this really badly if we do that really well, sort of thing. And I sort of sometimes struggle with that concept. But what sort of, where do you go with
offsetting?
Do offsetting? Or?
We do. Do we do offsetting? I hate this question. So our trees, so they absorb carbon.
Right.
Like that is literally what they do.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to stop that. We are a small not-for-profit, so as you can imagine, money's tight. So it would be really silly of us to ignore it as a potential income stream. However, we also don't want people to just continue as normal. So what we do is we work with Carbon Sense, which is a Cornwall-based. It's like I'm going to call them carbon calculators. Right, but what they do is they'll help you work out your emissions if you're a business or even as an individual. You could probably pay them to do it, and they would help you do that. And that's the first thing you have to do is if you're going to start like trying to mitigate or you're trying to sort out your CO2 emissions and get some trees to suck it all up, you have to know how much you're generating, right? So they will help you do that, and that is a really tough job. It sounds a lot hard, like it's a lot harder than it might sound. Then the next thing to do is you have to reduce your emissions by changing your behaviour. That could be really simple things like, I'm going to go on an electric tariff. You know, sorry, not a sustainable tariff, not electric, renewable tariff. So yeah, there's that. Then there will be, because of the way the world works, there will be things that you cannot like get rid of. You'll always have some emissions. So that's the bit that then you should buy credits. And that's when it gets really difficult. So you're not. So if someone came to you and said, "We're doing everything really badly, and we want you to hide it for us by doing that," you're going to say to them, "Well, first of all, go speak to Andrew.
Let's get your calculator going, and then we'll talk about how you can start minimising your stuff,
yes,
and then we'll talk about it. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we do it. But the important thing to say is we don't have any units. So we are not verified or validated. You have to have a third party come along and say, yes, Plant One are definitely doing all this tree planting. Because we don't own any land and because we work with landowners all around Cornwall, we can't validate any of our sites.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, and we tell everybody this. We say, like, we're very upfront about it. We cannot, like, sell you an official carbon credit because we cannot, like, have this third party person come around because we don't own the site. It would also be really difficult in some cases with the landowners to get these really long-term agreements for the carbon units. Some sites we do have that, but we still can't have them validated because it's not our site. So the thing that we say to people is that, but we can use Forestry Commission data to work out how much CO2 our trees are going to absorb. So, and then we can tell you, like we can, say, okay, if you give us X amount, we will absorb this amount for the next 50 years, I think the time scale is. So we can do that, but then they cannot say that they're net zero, because they're not validated credits. You can only say that you're net zero if you have bought validated units. We can't do that. And for some businesses, that's not good enough, which is fine. They can go. They have to go somewhere else and buy their units. Yeah. And some businesses are like, okay, that's fine. We just won't say we're carbon zero. We'd rather do the thing locally with you than buy some units that have been validated. I don't know. It doesn't even, in Thailand or.
Well, some of those are questionable as well.
And actually, no. The thing is as well, I don't want to put even more cynicism into the CO2 market because I do think there are merits there. But the thing is that I do know that there are organisations out there that if you just pay them enough money, they will come and validate your units. Right. So it's such a wild west. It's such a wild west.
And it's a big money making
operation. It's a huge money maker. Yeah. So we don't, it's just a really difficult kind of topic to cover, which usually I hate talking about.
I understand that.
But I think it's important to be frank and upfront about the pros and cons of CO2 units. Because there are people out there, there are businesses out there that are trying the best they can. They're doing the best they can, and then there are businesses out there taking advantage of it as well. So it's a real mixed bag.
So do you know how many trees you planted?
Yes. Well, kind of.
Go on.
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
We've done about 42,000 trees.
Wow.
So this will be our 6th year, and it has doubled every year.
Brilliant.
So I think in our first year we did about 2,500. Then the next year we did 5,000. Then we did 10,000. So what's that? 2, 5, 10. Yeah. Then we did 20. And this year, our 5th season, we're looking to plant about 42,000 trees.
Brilliant. And what do you know the sort of space that's taken up?
Oh man, I could look it up, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay. It's if I can't do the maths off the top of my head, but it's roughly 1,200 trees per hectare. So if anyone listening has a calculator. Just divide 40,000 by 1,200 and that will give you approximately the hectareage that would cover.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which must be quite a lot.
That's fantastic. And do you get help from the the forestry?
The Forestry Commission?
The Cornwall
Council. Forest for Cornwall.
Cornwall.
So Forest for Cornwall have given us, or not given us, sorry, they've signposted landowners to us previously. So landowners will go to them and say, hey, I've got this field that I would like to do some planting on. They would put together the plan and they would provide the funding. And then they would say, go to Plant One, or you can talk to Plant One and speak to them about the delivery of doing the planting.
And they would pay for the trees as well? Yeah,
they would. So what we do is we would actually, because that can still be a bit of an issue for the landowners, because what happens is they get the money after they've paid us to do the work. So what we say is we waive all fees until they get the money.
Right.
Then
okay, that's that's good.
So we have that pot of money to do that.
Yeah.
So that's some sites. With Forest for Cornwall.
So also I just want to step back to the carbon thing, but want to go further than that as well. Is when you plant a tree, it's not sequestering carbon until it's
bigger.
A certain age, is it?
So what happens is it's called a bell curve. So it's a bit like a hump like that.
Right.
So what happens is when you first plant the tree, I think in the first 20 years, maybe 30, depending on the species, it absorbs a shit ton of carbon.
Right, okay.
Because what happens is it's growing. And the faster a tree grows, the more mass it puts on.
So it's drawing more. It's like me. I'm a young man, and I like my food. So I'm drawing in all that food.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. So they're drawing in as much CO2 as they can. When they get to full size, they're not drawing in.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
As much CO2 anymore. And actually, because trees do two things. They photosynthesize, which takes in CO2, but they also respire. They breathe like we do.
Breathe oxygen?
No, breathe out CO2.
Ah, okay.
So they produce CO2 as well.
Right.
So when they get to being a big old tree, they actually produce the same amount of CO2 as they take up. So it ends up that they're kind of more, they're not absorbing as much at all towards the end of their life or when they mature. So it's during that growth period that they're really.
And then you say it's a bell curve, so it goes back down again.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
Yeah, that's so when they're little, like it ramps up for when they're growing big, and then it goes back down again because they've reached maturity and they don't need to. This denotes a mature tree, by the way, just so you know. This is what this is.
Hang on, let me see. Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you feel like a tree, right? Yeah. So that's. So that's, and then technically what's meant to happen is that I don't know, like a beaver might come along and like nibble a bit off, and then it would have to grow another one. So then it would absorb more. There's all that kind of thing that should happen.
So going back to you said that in the first 20 years of the bell curve, and the bell curve's going to sort of start.
Yeah.
Sort of fairly slowly and then shoot up. What's the when does it start?
I think that's like 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually that's when on some of our sites, we have contracts for about 5 years. And then hopefully we'll be able to work on them more. But, that's when that contract comes to an end. And some of them we might not go back to that site. Yeah. But yeah, that's when it's really going to ramp up is after about that 5 year period.
Cool. So you've already mentioned a few challenges, but what other challenges are you facing?
In what respect?
I guess anything.
What's our challenges?
What are your main challenges as Plant One?
As Plant One, our challenge at the moment is always funding. We started with zero funding. We just started, and it's just kind of spiraled out of control. We didn't have any initial funding from any sources. So we're always looking to just make ourselves more sustainable. I think it's the same, right, with every like small charity or not-for-profit. Our income is mostly from businesses who are just looking to do a good thing. They want like to improve Cornwall's environment. We're also now looking for public donations. Okay. So if individuals are wanting to give us cash, we would love to receive a donation from you as well. That's like the two things that we're trying to do. We also now offer some services, like chargeable services. So we can do woodland maintenance and all that kind of thing as well.
And that's all under the same umbrella?
All under the same umbrella, under Plant One, yeah.
Amazing.
So that's always our main challenge, I think, is funding and trying to convince people that we have enough land to plant trees. Yeah. So, that's I think that would be,
Excellent. So, Rai, what gives you hope?
Oh, I remember you asking this question before. So this is a really tough one for me because I think I think about it too much, but there are a number of things that give me hope. But I've got a really weird one that I've kind of wanted to talk about, I guess. So I went to a industrial event where there was lots of different businesses kind of there. And obviously a lot of the problems I feel like we're facing in the world at the moment, there's so many crazy egocentric people out there. Trump, obviously, and also Elon Musk, Putin, and they're all of this is just, it's taking so much focus, I think, off of what's really important. And it's really sad, and that makes me really kind of, everybody's just kind of in it for themselves, And when I was at this event, I randomly bumped into a guy who was sitting at a table called, his name was Vijay Rangarajan, and he just so happened to be the head of the Electoral Commission. And he was, and I didn't know that at the time. Like, he was just like, hey, I'm Vijay. And we had like a very short conversation. And he was really nice. And then like I was busy, so I went off and did something else. And then I was like, who was that dude? Who was he? So I'd like Wikipedia, like I Googled him. And I was like, my God, this is like, he was an ambassador to Brazil for the UK. Head of the Electoral Commission, which is one of the most amazing democratic organisations in the world. They actually bring democracy to countries rather than like America, kind of like bringing democracy. And I was like, this dude is really powerful. He's really successful. He's clearly very rich from the suit he was wearing. And he was the most humble, lovely person that I had met. And I was like, my God, they do exist. Yeah. I was like, there are actually people out there that are doing good that don't seem to be in it for themselves. And that really gave me hope. Yeah. It was very strange. I know it's a very random thing to say, but it was just really nice and refreshing. It was so refreshing, you know. So yeah, that's what gives me hope, is there are actually people out there that are doing good things and they're not in it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. They genuinely do seem to be in it.
There's a lot of people out there doing that, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's the rule rather than the exception, I think.
Yeah. And maybe I'm a bit cynical, so I don't see that.
It's understandable in today's society. It's understandable to be cynical, I think.
But that really I was like, oh man, he was cool.
We like cool people.
He was great.
Now let's move on to your evidence.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we've got Alex over there with the bell, and he's going to give you 1 minute to talk about each of your evidence that you've brought to the table.
Okay.
And your first one is The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wolleben.
Yes. Wolleben. Yeah, Wolleben. So when I first started, getting into the tree game, if you like, obviously come from a marine biology background, I had to learn a lot about how trees survive and how they live. And Mark's book, I think, is instrumental in kind of telling you about that. There is so much information in there that you wouldn't even consider. So things like they're theories, you know, it's based on research, but it needs more, you know, a little bit more. But there's some really lovely romantic stuff in there about like how mother trees will nurture and preferentially give nutrients to their own young. Like a family, you know. So there's that kind of thing in there that you wouldn't even think was possible, you know, but that's what they're doing.
Amazing.
And like, so he was saying that that he owns a woodland and he manages his woodland with horses. No more heavy machinery, because the vibrations that go through the soil can really upset the trees.
Okay.
You know, so it's just really crazy things like that, you know, that you wouldn't really consider. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That one then.
Good timing. So the second one on your that sounds well worth a
well read.
Actually.
Yeah.
So the second one is a BBC article called 5 Mind-Blowing Facts About What the UK Looks Like.
Yeah. So we get this all the time. And it is, there's not enough land. There's not enough land to build on. There's not enough land for you to have woodlands and farm, you know, and all this stuff. And if you read those facts, I think it's like from last year, it literally tells you the truth. It's not just like things that you hear on the street. It's literally facts and figures about how much of our landscape is built on, which is like less than 1%, I think it says on the article, you know, that actually we have the same amount of golf courses as we do housing estates.
That's insane,
isn't
it?
So it's like, you know, there are things, there is plenty of land out there. We just have to manage it a lot better. That's the really important thing to think.
Amazing.
Oh,
was that an early one?
Oh.
He's good though. He's good.
Yeah.
He's super keen on it. If you're after a minute, that's it. He's well in it. So the next one is Fauna and Flora International, which is a science-led global conservation website.
Yeah. So this is just pretty much. I just wanted people to know about it because I think it's really important. The work they do internationally is like, it's not like it's science-led, and I think that's really important. I'm really, obviously, very passionate about science.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, and they do some really amazing work in what was the Fertile Crescent, which is kind of Syria, Iraq, all that kind of area. And they're actually putting loads of effort into protecting our fruit and nut trees, which is where those trees are from.
Okay.
Everything that we take, walnuts, apples, like pears, they all came from that area. So they're doing like vital work to keep, and all those species, all those trees that live in that area now are endangered because of climate change and things. Right. So they're doing as much as they can to preserve the seeds and the nuts from those trees to protect them. Yeah.
Amazing. I'll have to have a look at that one. Yeah. And then I had a look at this one, this next one.
I can't remember what it
earlier.
is.
So it's restore.eco.
Oh, yes.
So that one's an open ecological restoration data platform.
Yes, yeah. So we use this to keep track of our sites. Mm-hmm. So anybody can go on there. You can type in Plant One, search under organisation, and then you can find everywhere that we have put planting. And the other reason that it's really good is it actually uses satellites and things to track the changing use of the land. So over the years, we will literally be able to see like the site change from a field or whatever to a woodland. So that's a really good website. And because it's doing that across multiple organisations all over the world. So any organisation can sign up. If you're the Cornwall Wildlife Trust or the Woodland Trust, you can sign up to that. And you can map it on there, and then the satellite data will all be collected for you, and you can use that however you like.
Amazing.
So it's a great website.
And that's all open source as well, which is fantastic.
All open source, yeah.
It should be. It's such a pain when you go looking for research now, and it's behind
a closed door,
paywalls and
whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're going to move on. Thank you for that. Now we're going to move on to the top tips.
Oh yes, yeah.
And these are your achievable top tips that you've brought to the table. Mm-hmm. The first top tip, we're going to go for a minute again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the first top tip is do something that's achievable for you.
Yes, absolutely. So there's no point in being like a person that loves burgers and being like, I'm going to be a vegetarian because you're just setting yourself up to fail. Like, pick something that actually suits you.
Yeah.
Like, if you are, I don't know, if you're really good at cycling, just try and cycle more rather than take the car. If you really like trains, get the train more than take the car.
Yeah.
You know, everybody will have something that they're good at, and that's what they should, or something that's achievable for them, and that's what they should focus on. I'm not saying you can't like try something a bit hard. You can push your boundaries, but if you're just starting out, just start with stuff that's easy.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to go straight into I'm going to be a hardcore vegan. You know, you don't have to do the difficult things. In case you can't tell, I find being a vegan difficult. You don't need to make it difficult for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that concept with sort of the likes of becoming a vegan is to maybe stop eating meat just one day a week and then
exactly.
in 6 months' time try 2 days a week, and in 6 months try and something like that, rather than right tomorrow I'm going full blown
absolutely.
So your number 2 is perfection is the enemy of progress. You don't need to be perfect. I love this one.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same theory, really. It's, again, you don't need to be perfect. So, like, if we just stick with the vegan theme or vegetarian theme, if you are trying to be vegetarian or vegan and you have a slip up and you go, God, I had bacon, you don't have to then just fall off the bandwagon and be like, well, I've not done it.
I've failed.
Yeah, I've failed. That's it. Why am I even bothering? No, you don't have to do that at all. You can then, the next day, you could have bacon again if you want, but the next day, try again. Just get back on the horse.
Keep trying. One day it might work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. This one's interesting. Be angry, not sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really easy. It's very easy, first of all, for me to say, make sure you're angry and not sad.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to be hopeless. And it's easy to get depressed, really, about the state of things. If you have any kind of ecological background, that's really difficult to cope with the facts that are going on at the moment. Sadness saps energy, makes you not want to do anything. And it makes you kind of want to go, if you're angry, if you get angry about it instead, if you try and feel that, I think that gives you fire. So then it gives you energy to do something. So I think it's quite important. I'm not saying don't be sad. Don't feel bad about being sad, Jesus. But like, if you can, just try and find that little kernel of anger and give it a little bit more feeding to fan that flame, I think that's quite important because then you get proactive, not overwhelmed.
Yeah, brilliant. We talked with Jake Causley about eco-anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a fascinating show. And he was similar, turn it into action.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So not the last one. If nothing else, collect and use rainwater.
Yes, yeah. So fresh water is a really big issue, and it's going to become more of a big issue in the future. We use our rainwater really poorly across the nation. So I think in Britain we're always like, it rains all the time, we don't have to worry about it. But actually, if you can collect and use rainwater, and I try and tell people, if you can hook it up to your toilet, because at the moment you're flushing your toilet every time with perfectly drinkable water, and that is such a waste. If you can collect enough rainwater to keep your toilets running, like if you can do that, go for it. Like I think that's really important, because fresh water, you can live, what is it? It's like 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and then 3 weeks without food. Like water is really important. I think everybody should do a better job of collecting rainwater for use in whatever way you can find.
And you're not the first person to come on the show and say that. And that's, I think, what I didn't realise is that all of that water that's coming off your roof is going straight into the sewage system, and we're wondering why our sewage systems are overflowing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it seems that new builds aren't embracing that, and it's really strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not,
it's going back to this idea that people don't uptake science as fast as they should. It just doesn't happen quick enough, unfortunately.
Absolutely. So your last one that you've sort of touched upon already is eat less meat.
Yes. So the two things that if you have to do something, I would always say try and use less fresh water and try and eat less meat. Specifically, if you can cut it out, try and cut out beef and pork, I would say, just because I think pigs are really smart and it's really mean to eat them. But and not that chickens have less value, but they're less environmental impact when it comes to eating meat. But if you can just cut down, like you said, even 1 day and then go on to 2, and maybe if you can cut it down to just eating like 1 meal like a week with meat, fantastic. But you don't have to be perfect.
Absolutely.
So again, there's loads of problems with eating fish as well. But I know it's really hard. We've grown up being surrounded by abundance, so it's difficult to cut out abundance when you have it. But if you can try and eat less meat, the environmental impacts are so positive, and it's so well researched. It would seem a shame to ignore that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Alex, for doing the bell there. Oh, eager beaver.
Good job.
And thanks for that, Ray. That's we've we've touched on it before, but tell us how we can support Plant One, and give us your contact details.
Okay, so we're going through a bit of a revamp on the website, and have been for about 5 years. But so the best way to get in contact with us is to find us on Instagram, which I believe is like Plant One CIC, at Plant One CIC. You can give us a message there. You can send us an email at hello@plantonecornwall.com. And it's spelt one, not just putting the number 1. So you can contact us there. We're always looking for landowners to collaborate with. If you're a business and you would like to give us more funding, we would bloody love that too. If you're an individual and you would even just like to give us like £2 a month, like that would also be fantastic. And at the moment, it's really hard to set those up. So you would have to get in contact with us to do that. But when our charity is set up properly, and when our website has been revamped, that should be much easier to do from the user end.
And so at the point of entry, is that free?
Yeah.
To a landowner?
Oh, yeah. Everything to a landowner is free.
Okay.
Yeah,
excellent.
we do everything we can to democratise it. We don't want richer people being able to get more woodlands, or a landowner that lives in a caravan to not be able to get any woodlands. We want it to be available to everybody.
And what's the smallest amount of area that you look at? Because I've got a garden that's about as big as this bit of paper, and I'd love to turn it into wooded area?
Really, we would be looking at about an acre or two being the smallest for it to be effective.
Yeah.
But if you have a really, really nice project, which is going to have a really big impact. Let's say you're planning on, breeding red squirrels in your garden and you need the habitat to do it. We may be able to get involved then.
Excellent.
So it really depends.
Okay, cool.
Around 3 acres.
And then with individuals, you also have volunteers come and help you?
Yes, we do. So again, we put it all out on social media as much as we can to tell people when upcoming volunteer days are. We will have, we do have a newsletter as well that we can add people to, and the volunteer days are put on there as well. So they're the two options in terms of getting involved in volunteer.
Is there a planting season?
Yes.
What is that?
The planting season is roughly in Cornwall from December to March.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then the rest of the year we're doing the maintenance work, which also requires volunteers.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. So what's the one thing that we can all start doing today that will make a better tomorrow and help us find a greener room?
Just buy less.
Buy less.
It doesn't, in whatever way you can.
Yeah.
You just don't necessarily need as much as you think you might need.
Yeah.
And if you can pull less resources from the planet, then that's all the better.
Amazing.
Really. Yeah.
Amazing. Rai, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for what you're doing for the planet.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you're doing for the people.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, well, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for this episode of Searching for a Greener Room. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know what you think, who you'd like to hear from, any topics you want us to cover. Drop us a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.